Hey folks, today we are riding this gorgeous beast in San Francisco, and so I'm going to tell you guys what I think about it. Alright, so let me first apologize for the really weird camera angle. Believe it or not, this bike has basically nowhere to suction cup a GoPro on. That was the best spot I could find on like the radiator cowl sort of thing. Believe me, I don't like it either because my microphone cable is pretty much pulled tight, so let's hope that's not an issue. And also, I don't know how I'm going to sound, because this helmet is not mine, and so my microphone is just in there, but I have had no chance to test it or anything like that, so I don't know. Hopefully it works alright. As mentioned, today I am riding this beautiful beast. It is a 2015 Ducati Hyperstrada 2015, yeah. Yeah, I quite like it. It's a lot of fun. It obviously sounds great. It's a Ducati twin. It's nice and farty and grunty and yummy and all that. I do like it a lot. It's a fun bike to be on. I've had it. Today's the second day I've had it. I'm obviously in San Francisco. I was here during the week for work, and decided to make it a long weekend. And thank you, sir. Decided to make it a long weekend here in the city and rented a Ducati just for fun. And I've been riding all around. Yesterday I was up on the north side of the bridge, in the hills up there. This morning I went down and gosh, it's so torquey. Went down and visited Stanford for a little bit, and then rode the hills up above Palo Alto and Menlo Park. Then I rode up the coast back up to the city area. And it's been a lot of fun. What can I say? And so I put about, let's see, how many miles have I put on you, my dear? I put about 300 miles on it since I picked it up yesterday. I have it through tomorrow, and I'm planning to ride pretty much all the way down to Monterey tomorrow from the city. So anyways, let's talk about what I think of this bike. I do like it a lot. I like this bike a lot, but there's a lot that I don't like about it. First of all, it's a Ducati, right? So it's kind of clunky and, unrefined and farty and backfirey and all those things that are typical of a Ducati, right? But it's too clunky. And the way I say that, I mean that the engine is pretty good. The only thing I sort of noticed with the engine, obviously it's a great sounding grunty twin, but the only thing I really don't like it's not that I really don't like it, it's that I just noticed it, is that the throttle response on it is very poor. And when especially for example, if I'm, if I blip the throttle when it's idle, it hesitates, which is kind of interesting. It's I didn't, I expected it to be more, quick to it than that, but it sort of hesitates, and I mean, not that that's really a problem, I just sort of expected it to be more precise than that. This is, of course, I believe it's the 821 engine that shared with the Monster, the baby Monster, well, not the baby Monster, but the smaller of the Monsters. Come on, Subaru. Light. So yeah, it's a newer engine, but I don't know, it's supposed to be sort of, quote, unrefined and rough, right? It's a Ducati, but just something I noticed, the place that I really actually take issue with this bike is the gearbox. God, the gearbox in this thing is trash. And I don't want to offend anybody by saying that, but it just is, it's very, very clunky, and many times it struggles to find a gear, and that sort of stuff. And I've hit multiple false neutrals on it, and that sort of stuff that it shouldn't have. At least in my opinion, it shouldn't have, right? And it really doesn't like to shift into first from neutral, and it's really hard to find neutral in the first place. There's just a number of issues I have with this gearbox that make it really annoying, and in general, it's really loud when you shift. It's very clunky. It's very, it just seems really not great. It feels like it's like out of a 50-year-old motorcycle, not a 1-year-old motorcycle, right? So that's like the one big issue I have with it, right? It just seems like it should work better than that, but it doesn't, and I find that rather frustrating. I'm gonna try to turn here. What's up? Nice Supermoto KTM. So, but honestly, other than the gearbox, I haven't really found any major issues I have with this motorcycle. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's fun in every way, right? It's like, it's extremely, ridiculously fast, like beyond anything I've ever ridden. Like, are you kidding me? How does it even accelerate that fast? It's ridiculously fast, to be on a level I can even like comprehend, really. Let's see, in terms of its sort of features, it's got traction control and ABS, which are fine. I mean, I've actually proved to have needed to use the ABS already, so that's fine with me. I mean, traction control is kind of whatever, it doesn't matter as much to me, but the ABS is nice to have, and it has, of course, like different settings, right? So it has a sport mode, a touring mode, which I have it in right now, and a urban mode, which all pretty much, they don't do anything to the engine or the suspension. They just sort of change the sensitivities of the ABS and the traction control, right? So it makes the traction control, more or less likely to kick in, more or less likely, the ABS more or less likely to kick in, I don't know, that kind of stuff. But really, other than the traction control and the ABS and the settings within those, this bike is surprisingly basic. The gauge cluster is extremely simple. It doesn't even have a gear indicator or anything like that, which is slightly annoying since this gearbox sucks and it's hard to find a gear anyway, or figure out what gear you might be in. Ooh, these people are crazy. minor tip there. I don't know. I wish it had a gear indicator. But other than that, it's super simple. It's a really surprisingly simple bike. I figured that this bike would sort of have more to it, right? But it doesn't, which is kind of odd. So what else can I say? It's a comfortable bike. Obviously, it's very upright. And, you know, it's easy to throw. It's easy to throw around. It's basically a glorified supermoto, right? So it's easy to throw, which is great, you know, makes it easy. Another gripe I do have with it is the fuel tank. You know, it's got that little tiny sort of supermoto-esque fuel tank, right? And so it doesn't hold much. It only gets it gets decent mileage, but it only gets maybe 100, I mean, from full to empty, maybe 150 on a tank, which is not ideal, but whatever. You do, it's a Ducati, right? So you do get a lot of looks on it. I mean, it's a bright red Ducati. Which is, I mean, whatever. I guess it's kind of cool that you get looked at, but you know, it's whatever, right? But it definitely is sort of a showy, offy kind of motorcycle. Speaking of which, this has a stock exhaust on it. Oh my god. I never knew a stock exhaust could sound so good. The other thing I noticed sitting on it, you know, is, especially here in the city, where I'm not moving, it gets hot, man. It gets hot quick. Like right now, a little temperature gauge is at 213, 215, and just goes up. It takes very little time before the fan kicks on for the radiator. It's just hot sitting here. Right now, it's like slowly burning my legs. So I don't know. It's a lot of fun. It's, you know, I've got some gripes with it especially the gearbox, man. It's like, it feels like the gearbox is broken. Like it just doesn't work sometimes. You know, typical, that's a one-way street, that's a one-way street, that's a one-way street. Unless you're doing a U-turn. You're apparently doing a U-turn. Brilliant. So it's fun. It's got a lot of fun stuff going on with it. I guess the real question is, at this point, is would I own it? Would I buy one? And I think my answer is no. It's fun. Don't get me wrong, it's a lot of fun, but to me it just seems it's a lot of money to pay for the name and for an sort of refined motorcycle, right? Now, to an extent, it's unrefined on purpose, right? It's kind of like a Harley, you know. It's sort of grunty and jumpy and all that on purpose, but it's a pain. It's not. It makes it. This is not an easy bike by any means to ride. It's not at all easy. Especially with the gearbox issue, and it's just overall jumpiness and quirks and all that stuff. You know, it's definitely not easy. Definitely not easy to ride. And it's a lot of money to pay for an unrefined motorcycle. Wow. Douchebag in the GTR.